This is it. We have made it. The first and only draft lottery for the startup of the Dynasty 30, a 30-team Dynasty Fantasy Basketball League featuring some of the best NBA and fantasy analysts out there. I'm thrilled to be here today. My name is Matt Lawson. I'm here along with three of the other co-founders of this Dynasty League, Zak Hanshew, Michael Waterloo, and Rhett Bauer. Gentlemen, this is a really exciting day. I'm thrilled to be doing this with you all. Zak, I think you actually reached out to me initially about this idea. What kind of sparked your interest in forming this league?
Yeah, man. Actually, I got to give all the credit to Michael. He reached out to me shortly before I reached out to you and Rhett, and he got the idea from a fantasy baseball league that he's in that kind of runs similar to this, and said, "Hey, can we get this going for fantasy hoops?" And said, "Yeah, let me reach out to two of the guys that I think would best be able to help with this, which is you and Rhett, who obviously know your dynasty." And just kind of all went from there.
Michael, tell me a little bit about your experience with Dynasty. Obviously, you got a lot of experience in the baseball space. Have you played a Dynasty basketball league before as well?
Yeah, I have. I'm in a couple of them, kind of smaller leagues. So I really wanted to kind of take that next step and kind of push myself. And I think the best way to do that is play against some of the best minds that you can. And looking at the rundown that we have of all the names in here, it's just like, wow, hey, that goal has been achieved because we have the who's who in here. It's a bunch of heavy hitters. So yeah, kind of adopted it from the fantasy baseball league that I'm in, the Highlander, and went to Zach, and here we are. So I'm just really, really excited for this.
Rhett, obviously you're no stranger to 30-team Dynasty leagues. You started one for your podcast, pun intended, last year. I joined that. So you got through the initial year of that league. Do you have any advice or thoughts on how 30-team Dynasty leagues are different than your standard 12-team or 16-team Dynasty leagues?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually have a piece coming out for Sports Ethos, should be out shortly, just about some tips and tricks when it comes to dynasty leagues, just as a general consensus. And I think the biggest difference when it comes to a 30 team versus a 12 team is the player dispersion, right? You have more than double the amount of teams. And so instead of going from like 10 top 100 players, you go to 3. And that changes how you should draft your team, because you get like a guy like Anthony Davis in a 12 team, you're psyched to get him in the 30s. But in a 30 team, you have Anthony Davis and you're only going to get like 55 games out of him. That changes your team quite a bit. And so I think the drafting strategy and the value of players in a 30 team, it's home run or nothing. Like, you might be swinging for the fences, but you might also end up at the bottom of the league, like I did in the pun intended 30 team.
Well, Michael referenced it earlier. It's quite a list of heavy hitters. Just to run through who our 30 teams are going to be managed by. From the top, we've got Josh Lloyd and Kyle McEwen from Basketball Monster, Steve Alexander, Jonas Nader, who I believe is in the YouTube chat live right now, ready to see if he can snag Jaren Jackson Jr., Zak Hanshew, Jared Johnson, Ryan Knaus, and Noah Rubin, all from NBC Sports Edge, Dan Titus from Yahoo Fantasy, Rhett Bauer, Steven Vidovich, Dio Nikiforos, William Harris, Cody Mallory, and JP Sticko, all from Sports Ethos. And then we've got Michael Waterloo, Enos Saris, and Sam Macy from The Athletic. The legend, Rick Kamla from SiriusXM NBA, and Alex Racklin and Mike Barner from RotoWire. Tyler Watts and Mike Catrone from the Watching the Boxes podcast are both in the league. And then you have Adam King, B-Dub, and myself, all from Fantasy Basketball International. Stan Sun from Razzball, Jason from Dynasty Basketball Central, Alex Burns and Dan Palo from Rotoballer, and Mitch Casey from the Ball Boys podcast. So this is an incredible group. It really is a who's who of fantasy and NBA analysts. I cannot wait to see how this plays out in this league. And to give you all a little bit of background on the league format, this is obviously 30 teams. It's a 9-category standard head-to-head league, 1 matchup per week. We're going to have weekly lineups and weekly waiver moves to kind of reduce the amount of maintenance that's going to be for this league, since everyone here obviously has a lot of in-season commitments with their content. But we're going to obviously get a head-to-head playoffs, just like in any other head-to-head league. We're going to play that out in March and cutting out that April nonsense of basketball. And beyond that, it's pretty much your standard Dynasty league. That means that you are keeping your players forever. You can keep your roster from year to year. If you draft Paulo Banchero this year, you can have him for his entire career if you want to. And that's the beauty of a Dynasty league, because it really is a long-term commitment. And my hope is to be able to keep this thing rolling for many, many, many years to come. Finally, I guess before we get into it, anyone have any thoughts on where they want to end up in this thing? The one caveat to this draft order is that it is a snake draft, but there is a third round reversal, which is essential in a 30-team league, because otherwise, if you end up at the end of that order, your team will not be nearly as good as the teams at the top of it. However, if you get the 30th pick in a third round reversal, that means you're picking 30th, 31st, and 61st. And getting those three players in that range can lead to pretty good outcomes. I just recently had one of these drafts in a 30-team league, and the team that picked in the 30th slot got Jalen Green, Josh Giddey, and then came back at 61 and got Jordan Poole. And that's a pretty good young core for a 30-team Dynasty league. And of course, the team at the top getting to take the likes of Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, that's great. But when you have the third round reversal, you don't get quite as strong of a player on the back end when you're coming into the third round, when you're picking all the way at the back end of it, as opposed to being at the turn and getting to pick 60th and 61st. So that's the one thing that everyone needs to remember with this. Even if you land in a spot a little bit later in the order, it does balance out quite a bit, and you do end up with pretty balanced rosters.
Yeah, I
so what we're
prefer
going to do
being at the end.
Go ahead, Rhett.
Sorry, no, I just prefer being at the end. Like I said, when you're top heavy in a 30 team, if you get some sort of injury, you're going down the tank bad. And at the end, at least you're getting those two top 30 players, and then you're probably going to get that 60th player, depending on how you build your team, can end up as a pretty good value if you're going for vets. So I prefer being at the end, and I hope that's how it turns out.
Well, we're about to find out. We've got it loaded up here on draftpicklottery.com. As you can see, everyone has one lottery ball. So this is not like the NBA draft lottery where there are different odds for each team. Everybody has an equal shot at each pick. We're going to unveil them slowly as we go through, starting at number 30. And all we have to do now is hit submit. All right, as you can see, none of them have been revealed yet, but our order has been determined. We just need to see what it is. We're going to stop down here at pick number 30, and that goes to Mike Barner. Coming in at pick 29, Cal McEwen. And at pick 28, B-Dub. At pick 27, Adam King. I absolutely love to see Adam King and B-Dub podcast partners picking right next to each other. That we're gonna have to get them on a show just to be picking right next to each other and watching the anguish. At pick 26, Jonas Nader. Might be in that Triple J territory. We'll see how that works out. Pick 25, Jason from Dynasty Basketball Central. And there he is, Zak Hanshew, coming in at pick 24. Zach, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's okay, right? It's not 30, but it's also not 1, so I'll make do with it.
You've got a manageable turn there where you kind of have some idea of what might be coming back to you, but it is still pretty anguishing when you get to that point and have to wait that many picks to be able to come back. You're hoping for a few of them to be able to stay there. Jonas has just announced in the chat that he's going to quit. He's just kidding, but he might. I don't think he's happy about that spot. Dan Titus comes in at pick 23. Dr. A, Steve Alexander at number 22.
Probably not getting Luka at 22, Dr. A.
I don't think so. Although we will have trading during the draft, so we will see what kind of treasure chest Dr. A would be willing to get and move up to the top of the draft and get Luka.
He can get Lowry there, though.
That's right. Dio Nicoforos coming in at number 21. Cody Mallory from the Sports Ethos Nets podcast coming in at number 20.
Now, Matt and Rhett, Matt and Rhett, seeing where we are now, the three of us, the top 18 picks are left. Has your kind of strategy changed here, Rhett, at all, as far as where you want to be now that you can't be at that bottom?
Yeah, I mean, we're not even halfway through, so there's still a chance that you can end up getting two of those top 40 players, right? But Yeah, like once you're getting to the top 15 or so, you're getting into some premium dynasty assets. So like there's not a bad place to be in a 30 team. It does just kind of change what you're looking for at the top of the draft, because not only do you have to wait for your second round pick, but then you also know in the third round, that third round reversal kicks in and you're waiting even longer after that. So you got to change it up just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a tier shift as we get into the top half. Like Rhett said, I mean, yeah, if you're in the top 15, you're getting a pretty premium player as your cornerstone. But it is a little more difficult in the teens to be able to pick, just because you have to make some hard selections between guys who are already doing it versus guys who are, going to have that star ceiling later, and that you're hoping for development in the next year or two. All right, we had Stan Sun from Rasball at pick 19. At pick 18, Tyler Watts from Watching the Boxes. I was hoping that we could get Mike Catrone right next to him, but Alex Burns from Rotoballers coming in at pick 17. Pick 16, Josh Lloyd at Red Rock B-Ball, right there near the middle. And then pick 15, Alex Reclean. And somehow, gentlemen, the three of us, Rhett, Michael, and myself, are all still viable as we enter the top half of the draft.
And this isn't
pick
rigged.
14, and there he is, Rhett Bauer. Rhett, what do you think? Number 14.
Not bad. I kind of like that there's a chance that I can get any of my guys for the rest of the draft and I won't have to reach, right? Because I'm in smack dab in every single round. So I may be at the mercy of reaching an extra round or so, but I should be able to get somebody that I like every single round without having to be 20 or 25 picks a bit early than what we would consider normal.
All right. Moment of truth. Pick 13, Rick Tomla. Pick 12, Mike Catrone. And pick 11, there I am. I had been hoping and praying that this would be the one league where I'd finally be able to get Cade Cunningham. I don't think that will be happening. I think he's going to probably go painfully close to that pick, or even a little bit earlier. That hurts me a little bit, but it's still a very good pick, so I won't complain. A lot of good options. I actually picked right around there in a 30 team just the other day. I think I was at 12 actually, and got Karl Anthony Towns there, as he's falling a lot more in drafts compared to where he was before the Rudy Gobert acquisition. So we'll see who falls to that spot. All right, here we are, the top 10. Michael, you're still in play.
I'm sweating over here. I'm sweating.
All right, let's take a look at pick 10. Jared Johnson coming in at pick 10. Pick 9. Noah Rubin, little NBC Sports Edge competition there between those two at 9 and 10. Pick 8. There you are, Michael. Pick 8.
All right. I went into this really wanting pick 25 to 30. Then after that, I said, all right, just get me in the top 10. So I'm not too mad at it. There's a lot of guys there I really, really like to target, but it's going to be a long way back after that round 2. So I really just have to kind of be smart there. But yeah, I'm very happy with that.
All right, here we go now into pick 7. JP Sticko taking pick 7. Pick 6 to Dan Palo. Thunder Dan coming in at pick 6. I see him in the chat there. Pick 5, William Harris from Sports Ethos, the All Rookie podcast. Pick 4 to Mitch Casey, the Ball Boys. And here we are in the top 3. Now, I wish I had been keeping track enough to be able to know who's still left in play. And I probably could figure out in a second, but I'm sure anyone who's watching this, they know who they are. Pick 3.
I know for sure we have Eno and
there
Sam.
They are.
There we go.
your buddies from The Athletic, Eno Saris and Sam Macy, who are co-managing that team, getting the 3rd pick. You'll love to see it. Pick 2 goes to Ryan Knaus from Sports Edge. That's awesome. Good for Ryan. Love to see someone getting the top pick, near the top in the draft. That's a pretty incredible selection to be able to get between pick 1 and pick 2 in any dynasty draft. And the 1st pick to Stephen Vidovich of Sports Ethos. All right, that's it. We found it. We got all the way through. The order is set, and we're going to get going on this thing. A slow draft, because we obviously have a lot of different time zones to deal with here. We'll probably start out with 12 hours per pick just to make sure everybody's awake and does an auto draft. But I can't wait to be able to get this thing going. We're going to make sure that we're putting out as much as we can. out onto Twitter, out into other spaces about, what trades are going down in this league, what picks are being made in the inaugural draft, because I really think this is going to be the Dynasty League of record. A lot of interesting strategies will be put into place by a lot of great basketball minds who think differently. Any final thoughts from any of you before we sign off on this?
Yeah, I think it's funny that Steven is the one responsible for posting the Dynasty Tips and Tricks article I have coming out, and so he may just hold it. He may just not put it out there. Not that the league necessarily needs it, but at least he knows how I think, and may just be nice enough to keep that from you guys for a little bit. But no, I'm extremely excited about this league.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, and I think it's fun that there's 2 picks between me and you, Matt, and then 2 picks between you and Rhett. So, and then Zach is just down there in the 20s. So it's going to be interesting just to see everybody spaced out a little bit and the different strategies that are kind of deployed. But yeah, I can't wait to get started.
For sure.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. This was great. I can't wait to be able to get this thing started. I'm going to flip on over to those commissioner tools probably in a few minutes and fire it up so we can get this draft order in there and get this league drafting. Thanks to everybody who tuned in for this, and we're looking forward to giving you more updates in the coming days.